This is a presentation on an autoethnographic exploration into the relationship between critical incidents and my sporting experiences whilst in the foster care system. And here are my aims and objectives which I used during my dissertation research. And I came up with this idea because I was in foster care for 14 years, spanning 4 placements. 90,000 children are in foster care at the moment, and their voices often go unheard. So I want to take advantage of my unique position because there are only 6% of foster care children end up going into university. So I want to be the voice of the unheard population because so little foster care children go into university. So I'm in a very unique position right now. And I wanted to focus my literature on trauma and ambiguous loss, which you can see on the slide now. And the gap was identified because Cornby's study was the only one that emphasised on foster care and physical activity, and providing an autoethnographic focus, I provide a story that is celebratory of my unique circumstances. The methodology I chose was qualitative because my story cannot be quantified, and autoethnography because there's confrontation between 2 different social worlds. In this case, my foster care identity and how it differs from those who are among the general population through an understanding of my own story. And here is a continuation of my methodology which went alongside my autoethnographic. And here is the timeline which helped me identify the critical incidents I had suffered whilst in the foster care system. I decided to go with thematic analysis for my interviews as it allowed me to provide subjective meaning to the data that I had broken down. And here is my story through themes that I developed through my research. Adult influences was one of the most important ones because it helped me realise that my coaches were very important to my development in years 8 and 9 because they provided a positive influence which is important for foster care children as it helps them achieve optimal development. Because in year 6, when my mother passed away, I thought it bring an end to the ambiguous loss that I'd been suffering at that time. But because I wasn't allowed to attend her funeral, it kept that gap of ambiguous loss open because funerals bring that clarity and closure, which I was not able to obtain because I was not able to attend her funeral. And when I went into secondary school, I wanted to be open about my background because I wanted to be proud of my unique story. But I soon realised that was a mistake because my fragility was broken when I was vulnerable. And this was emphasised when someone said to me, "Ha, at least my mum's not dead." And this really hurt, obviously, after suffering the death of my mother. And that made me isolate myself a lot in the classrooms, especially my English classroom, because I usually had that before lunch. And after I left secondary school and went into college, I wanted to be known as a sports person, and that's it. I wanted to be looked at as normal because normality is all I was seeking. Because when I was being bullied, it made me feel different, and I didn't like that. And the literature says that normality is very normal, a normal thing for a foster care child to seek because we have that fear of bullying. And using the skills that I developed in college, I was in a position of where I was going to university, and as I mentioned, only 6% of foster care children go into university. So I've defied the odds in some ways because I was expected to fail after all the trauma I'd suffered, losing my mum, the bullying I'd suffered, and because of sport, I was able to choose a specialist subject and maintain my physical activity. So now it helped me gain this position of being an undergraduate student who's achieving first and 2-1s, which no one would have thought of a few years ago. So I'm really proud to be in this position and proud to be presenting to you today. So using my story, I suggest these things. I believe more research is required because our stories are unique in foster care. So if you're in the same position as me, take advantage of it because foster care children are successful. And I believe a buddy system is required because in my 14 years of foster care, I'd never met another foster care child. So I believe meeting other foster care children would make us feel more normal because we'd know that there are more people out there like us. So using my story, I've been able to present to you how more research would add to the literature and how foster care children can take advantage of their own stories. So if you're in the same position as me, take advantage of it because our stories are beautiful and successful. Thank you for listening.